You never forget the moment you realize no one is coming. For me, it was a shelter in Austin, Texas, 9,000 miles from home, with nothing but a flip phone and a bag of clothes. Home is Cotabato City, a dense and often overlooked part of the southern Philippines. My grandmother raised me after my mother left when I was 2 weeks old to work abroad. Where I came from, most girls did not grow up dreaming big. They grew up preparing to leave to Saudi Arabia, to Hong Kong, to work as domestic help for other families. But I wanted something different, not just for me, but for my children I hadn't even met yet. I dreamed they would grow up free, safe, with choices. In 2016, I came to the United States on a 3-month work and travel visa. That visit opened the door, and in 2018, I walked through it for good. I moved to Myrtle Beach, and then Austin. And it was in Austin, like many modern love stories, that I met my husband on a dating app. He was tall, blonde, charming, kind. He made me laugh. We talked about dreams, kids, and the kind of life that we wanted. He became one of my best cheerleaders, one of the few who truly supported my dreams. We married in August 2020, right in the heart of the pandemic, and what felt like stability, being chosen, being someone's wife, what I thought was love, slowly revealed itself as something else. Because it wasn't safe. At first, it was emotional, the kind of harm that hides behind raised voices and subtle control. But eventually, it turned physical. I wasn't just unhappy, I was trapped, completely trapped. Here's what most people don't know. When an immigrant woman marries an American citizen, her legal status is often tied to that relationship. If the relationship becomes abusive, leaving doesn't just risk heartbreak, it risks deportation, poverty, being separated from your children, losing everything. This isn't rare. Immigrant women experience domestic violence at rates similar to Americans, but they report it far less. A recent study found that nearly 80% of immigrant victims were afraid to go to the police. Because when your visa is tied to the person hurting you, where do you go? And this vulnerability, this fragility of life, isn't just about relationships. It's embedded in systems. Immigrants are more likely to be exploited by their employers, more likely to be reduced to headlines and stereotypes, more likely to live with the feeling that one mistake could unravel years of effort. When we fought, he threatened to call immigration on me. I was terrified because I knew he could. And it's not because we are weak. It is because we are made precarious by design. Eventually, I had to face the truth. My relationship wasn't just difficult, it was dangerous. And I had to leave. When I walked out, I had nothing. No job, no phone, except the flip phone the police gave me, and no legal certainty. What I did have was a choice: to let all of that fear define me, or to transmute it into something else. This is what I call emotional alchemy. It's a practice of transformation, of taking the pain and turning it into purpose. It's a 3-step process, and it's not just for women like me. It's for anyone carrying something heavy who wants to turn it into something meaningful. Not bypassing your emotions, but walking through them. and choosing who you become on the other side. The first step is acknowledgement, naming your reality without softening it, without shrinking from it. For me, it was saying, I am in an abusive relationship. I am scared, and I deserve better. It didn't make me weak. It made me ready. The second step is transmutation, turning fear into action, shame into clarity, pain into motion. I taught myself immigration law. I discovered the Violence Against Women Act, which supports immigrant women in situations like mine. I found a lawyer. I applied for protection. And within 2 months, I had secured conditional legal status. When a women's shelter moved me up their wait list, I could have felt embarrassed. But I chose to see it as a sign. Someone saw me. Someone believed me. That mattered. The third step is commitment to small wins. Because when your world has been shattered, it's not the big gestures that save you. It's the phone you couldn't afford, suddenly half off. It's getting shelter. It's every yes that follows 100 silent no's. These moments, stacked gently, become a staircase. And I kept climbing. Immigration is always a risk. It's a choice to leave everything familiar for a promise. Not a guarantee, just a possibility. And what sustains us isn't just law or policy. It's hope in each other, in what this country or any country can still be, in the story that we are still writing. We don't need to believe the countries we immigrate to are perfect, but we can't afford to stop believing they can be better. Because if we lose that, if we stop seeing these places where people like me can build and rebuild, we lose far more. We lose stories. We lose futures. We lose the very possibility of becoming something better together. So whether you're navigating impossible choices, rewriting broken systems, or simply just waking up to stories you've never had to live, this is your invitation to emotional alchemy. One night at the shelter, I wrote myself a letter just to get through the night. I didn't know it then, but it became part of what carried me forward. And I'd like to share a part of it with you now. Acknowledge the truth. Feel the feelings. And then ask, what am I going to do with this? That night, I realized the truth. No one was coming. That's the beginning of the alchemy. I recently found out the case against my abuser was dismissed. 3 years of fighting and still no justice. And it's been really hard. But resilience isn't about pretending you're okay. It's about rebuilding in the face of what tried to destroy you. It's about choosing, again and again, not to be hardened, but to be changed. I still remember that little girl in the Philippines, the one who was expected to leave, to serve, to sacrifice. And I think she'd be proud to see who I've become. Not because everything turned out perfectly, but because I never stopped choosing to hope. Like every story of becoming, like yours, like mine, our stories are still being written, and we all have the power to shape what comes next. Because you never forget the moment you realize no one is coming. And sometimes, that's the moment you start becoming who you needed. all along. Thank you.